Alright. Big yawn's over and done with. Situate myself. Grab this. Paste it in here. And for those watching the VOD, we do go live at 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday-ish. Sometimes I'm a little late. That happens. I'll start this off by, if you're watching the VOD, you may have missed the opportunity to buy trading cards. There are only a couple days left to do that. The Kickstarter ends... Kickstarter ends in, about 2 days. Hey, Pat. Did you find your... Oh, speaking of Pat, did you figure out your Kickstarter password? I did want to start us off over here. Well, I didn't want to start us off over here, but the thing was, I was over here because I was busy I was fixing this yard. I added a 5th track to this yard, or a 6th, I guess. And then I was experimenting with 3-foot gauge cars. Excuse me. Then I downloaded one too many things and crashed the game. So, I was not able to finish my 3-foot gauge car adventure, where I was going through everything and seeing what it had as commodities, or, if anything, because a lot of the stuff does not. This I remember being promising. This had some things. Yeah, not too much, but it has goods, or a different kind of goods. It also has ice, which is neat, but I'm not sure we'll be bothering with that. It would be cool, but I'm not sure we'll be bothering with that. But yeah, I did download a whole bunch of 3-foot gauge stuff, and I was just sifting through everything and sort of seeing if I could find stuff with commodities, stuff that we can make use of, like this. This has camp goods, but it also has lumber and goods and wood chips, which is kind of important. Getting a car that does wood chips. And yeah, I mean, that's that. I had a lot of stuff laid out here that was promising, but I could not, I wasn't able to follow up on that. I don't have it anymore. It's all gone. Well, I mean, I have it downloaded. I just don't remember what it was. And the reason I was sifting through this is not because I sort of got bored and got on the 3-foot kick. Good evening, better. Yeah, no, I had also replaced the track with something that I liked more, which I can do right now. But I'm trying to find some of this other 3-foot stuff that I downloaded. I downloaded a lot of things. What is the name of the station in the IHR that the Strasbourg branch connects to the rest of the network? That is Havens Bend? Is the place? I don't know what the station is. I suppose we could go look. But you can ping me after the show and I'll try to grab it for you. Yeah, I mean, I downloaded some DNRGW stuff, but not necessarily anything. I have a DSP-MP flat car. I don't think this carries anything. Maybe it does. Nope. But this is what I was running into a lot of the time, just this stuff that is ancient and does not have any commodities attached to it. And yeah, when and if it gets reskinned, then yes, all this DRGW stuff was useless. This, I think, had a commodity. Yeah, that has lumber and thingy. The CNS stuff I thought was a little bit better. Well, they only have this Tiffany Reefer. I thought I downloaded more things. This just has oranges, which could be a good stand-in for a lot of things, but I don't think we have anything else that carries oranges. So, yeah, I don't know if that would work. So, I'm basically done being distracted with this. I am gonna have to get back to it. I'm especially gonna have to get back to it. Hey, Ryan. Drakenfell is on a video premiering on Battleship New Jersey's channel. Cool. I mean, you're not beholden to be here. You can go and watch that if you want. Well, is it a video or a stream? Because if it's a video, I don't see how we're, like, losing anything. It's not like someone's going to spoil it for you if you watch it, later tonight or tomorrow. But I appreciate you inflating my ego. I think that's what that does. Alt tab. Whoa. Okay. Ton of new 3-foot stuff should be on the DLS. So we have Trainz Forge if you want to screen the content that way. I would love to just have. I mean, it has to be on the DLS. But I just don't know what I'd be looking for. So, what are we going to work on today? I mean, we can get to this. I'm realizing that with my goal being to make the with my ammo pack, with my goal being to make this session usable um, up to the Lionhead turn. By the time that's active, it's like 9 a.m. and the session starts at 5. So if I were to do an AI test, it would have to be off air because, or it'd have to be off normal time because if I waited until we were on air, I could start the session now and it would not be done in time. Like we wouldn't even get to the part that matters in time. So yeah. No, I mean I should probably continue filling in gaps over here. I'm not really in the mood for farmsteads, but we could do one or two. Um, Last night was an episode on ghosting the fleets. I was hoping to work on Blender while I watched this and everything went wrong. Oh god, what happened to Blender? I do have a couple things to talk about that are trading card centric or at least website centric. Sort of the future website that I'd like to put together. I would need something with a very specific sort of capability, I suppose. And I'm not even sure if normal website builders would be able to do what I am asking, but I want to know what happened to Hemlock's Blender. Also, this did not do what I kind of hoped it would do. I mean, it's not terrible, but this is probably the only place I'm going to use this texture. Also, we need to do... Oh, we did grass along here. Oh, I just gave it a nice little break over here because it makes sense for me to. Would it be interesting if we did a, one of the stations as a thing? I also might have a bunch more stuff, now because I downloaded the Iron Horseman route and also I was downloading things for the possible multiplayer route. Couldn't I make a site in Wix? Well, maybe. I don't know. The bus took 3 times as long as usual. I got a call about a job interview. The apartment and laundry machines were causing problems. Oh, God. Okay, so everything except for Blender, then. So here's the thing. I don't know. On the subject of making a site in Wix, or any similar website builder, I would need to know what their capabilities are, because there are some things that I need to, or at least would want to do. Number one is take payments. I don't know if every website builder has that. I get the idea that most of them do. Yeah, let me look up a Bard. But the thing is, this is going to be like a low poly farmstead, homestead. Low poly. I'll just put a silo behind one of them. I can't spell tonight. And I started writing down a sort of list of laptop will appreciate that. I sort of started writing down a list of what I would want a potential website to be capable of in order to make selling the trading cards better, or easier to do, or more flexible, or whatever. Hey, TBA. I sort of came to a couple of conclusions. One of them was that I should be able to do, working on the farm. And I had these notes all structured, but it's like, I need to be able to sell stuff through the website. Obviously, that's problem number one. Anti-alien invasion buoys. I found a movie that fails to use those. Uh, but I'm doing all right today. Thank you, Sherry Dunbar. Um, yeah, so I need certain capabilities, namely the ability for people to like invest in packs, sort of like a Kickstarter before they came out, uh, but on sort of a running, like a Kickstarter that never ends. You know, um, this is basically how I had pictured it. You can, you make an account on the site, you log into your account, and then you can make a wallet of like site specific currency, and you can use that to put towards various packs. Like there'll be a list of all the available batches, or I should say batches, not packs. A list of all the available batches, and it's like, there's one, two, three, maybe four is in the works, and each of them will have little progress bars next to them. And those progress bars will be how funded a a print set of that batch is. So when one of them hits, the requisite amount, like 500, $600, then I go and I print the cards, and I have them here, and then I can sort them into packs and ship them out based on who contributed to that being possible. So you'd be able to have, like I said, okay, you have $5 in, or $6, one pack's worth in a reprint of Batch 02. That hits $500, and I make a reprint, and I package those into a batch, and then I put it a thing, it resets the counter, and I say to everyone, okay, you have one, like, pack available for pickup, and those $5 in sort of like site currency, or $6 in site currency, are consumed. Um, uh, until it hits the threshold, you can take that site currency and remove it from any particular batch and move it into something else. So if you have like you're invested 2 packs deep into a batch 2 reprint, but batch 4 is debuted, or batch 5 is debuted, and you really want that instead, then you go and you move all your money you move your 2 packs from batch 2 to batch 5, and when that fills up, you get batch 5 instead. And by get, I mean really, you get notified. Oh, this is an interesting building. You get notified, like, hey, you have packs available. Using my alien invade the ocean, I want to build Gundams to fight for them. Oh, okay. To fight them, yeah. Could have used Tsunami movies there. That'd be neat. Although they didn't seem to have any problem tracking them in that movie. Well, that's kind of cute. I hope I am formulating my idea properly here, but I'm also trying to look for stuff. Um, Cumberland, stone building, old brick. Yeah, I love Pacific Rim. So yeah, you log into the site, you have a wallet of on-site currency, which you just buy like one for one, um, and then you can invest that in any of the batches that are like past or pending, and when one of those hits, you know, a threshold, that currency is consumed, the batch is printed, I organize them into packs, and then you can claim your packs that you are owed by just paying the price of shipping, and plus any add-ons you want. Like you'll get a notification like, oh, you've got a pack available. Um, so then you can go and you can sort of say, okay, this is my shipping address. Here's my cost of shipping. Um, and also, I would like guaranteed variety, which is going to work differently in the future. Also, I'd like a guaranteed helper. Uh, it's the locomotive suggestions is going to be something that's open all the time instead of being a specific add-on. So it'll always be like, okay, just $5 in on-site currency, and you can make a locomotive suggestion. Um, it'll be a form that's always open. On the other hand, when you have, um, a, like if you want a special order, you'd be able to do that through the site as well. You could just put that in, and I'd sort of receive it, and you'd punch in your $20. Um, you know, so and then you would get your special order. Assuming I don't need to charge extra for acquiring photos and things like that. It would be a multi-step process. It wouldn't just be throwing something in the form and then that being that. But either way, these kind of things would be open all the time instead of you having to like contact me individually about it. I'm actually going to add a fence over here. Um, but yeah, and that way you could always order any of the available packs that I have left over from previous batches. You can always order, you can always put money into a pack, and it's always going to be there. Like there's no time limit. You could put it in there, and then 3 months later you go, you know what? Actually, I don't really want this batch anymore. I want something from a different batch, and you can take your money out and you can put it into the other batch instead. And then a month later, uh, you get a notification that hit its funding goal, and now you can receive your packs, which I thought was a pretty good system for how to handle that. It does potentially mean hell yes, Avatar. Uh, Fence from the hardware store, man. It's been a while since I've thought about that. Yeah, um, I'm on the right layer, right? Yes, okay. I need to put in some other stuff on this side. So, different different band, TBA. Uh, yeah, and that's sort of the gist of it. And the website would keep track. Hi, baby. The website would keep track of what you've sort of invested in, what you've claimed. If you don't, basically, I would hold that until somebody else wants those packs, and then you would get refunded your on-site currency if you don't claim it by the time I'm out of those packs. So, yeah, I mean, that's my thought. I mean, it would be a website for more than just that, but that would be sort of the bulk of it. The main page is the trading cards. But Jader was talking about having a little section for, like, doing model building stuffs where you can commission him, which I thought would be neat. Um, Sandstone Depot. Is it a place called Sandstone? It is. Wait, maybe. Maybe it is. What is this? Oh, okay. Mail product, parcels, express. Huh. Okay. Interesting. So yeah, that's my thought. If anyone has thoughts related Either now or later. You can just make a note of them. I feel like there was something that I was missing, and I cannot remember what. Um, but either way, it was that was the gist of it. The big thing, the big hurdle for me was having the onside currency, which is something that I didn't think about at first, and I was really wondering, like, well, how am I going to tie up people's money for an undetermined amount of time? And it's like, well, if they just and if I make it something that is a little bit more palatable, I make it something on site, then it makes a little bit more sense. It is a little bit more reasonable to a lot of people instead of just saying like, yeah, I'm gonna put a hold on your bank account for 6 months, uh, while I hope that money rolls in enough to do these. The only downside I think is going to be um, the fact that we won't get the automatic advertising boost that Kickstarter affords us. Because on Kickstarter, you'll find, you can look up stuff. I mean, you'll only find it if you're looking around on Kickstarter. I don't really know anyone who does. But that's it's a thought. It's better than nothing. We have had at least one person that has bought trading cards just because they found them on Kickstarter, which is really cool. But that's not something that happens every time. Let's see. All right. I don't know if that's like realistic at all. I assume I probably want a little shed next to them, at least. It's a little bit bigger than I would have wanted, but so can I slide this back? Yes. Mixing Russian and Aussie stuff. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know what my goal is today. I don't feel like I have one. I should probably pull up my to-do list, which, let me grab that. That's in here? Yes. Hmm, good to know. You worked Panam, missing assets, Castle Farm area, Cliff, and then everything else is like automation and operation. Rename ML tram interlocking stuff. I don't feel like doing that. 23rd lead time for crossings. Always work in route layer unless adding trains. Okay. Hmm. This is just not tickling me today. It's just not, I don't know. My brain isn't going as well as it should be right now. It's a Thursday evening. It's not like I've had a long day. Not this time, anyway. Sign tall. Shotgun house. Okay, yeah. Shop. I don't really need shops over here. Free range granola. Oh, they're just the fronts of shops that I can stick onto buildings. It's interesting. Um, Shed garage. I could probably make use of this. That's small, wow. Oh, I like how it has. All right, that's interesting. Maybe I'm not going to use that. I mean, MPS should be able to have trains running around the map while somebody's working. I mean, the issue for me is I can't do that because otherwise, like, if I switch back and forth, it breaks the AI. Um, I know we're sort of moving towards a combined driver surveyor, but for setting up sessions, there's always going to be a necessity that stuff is separate because I can't have things using their schedules like right now. Uh, if this was automated in a different way where things were sort of always running, and then you could PLA train off to use for your own, whatever you want to use it for. Which I think I had a session, not necessarily on Tolbrin, but on a session, I had a session similar to that. Um, Once Elsa stopped summoning bovine into the world, yeah. When you lag the AI out, it's driving around because it's crashed. We have Minecraft mods and yet we're just getting to that kind of automation. Man, this game is behind. I have no idea what that's supposed to mean. Uh, there's a car on one of the many multi-mile long trains that had Snickers on the side of it. Uh, but yeah. We're not doing I mean, we could throw some billboards down somewhere. Hey, Bino. Oh, this is a church. Okay. Looking at Russian stuff. I just found a house that I wanted to use, and now I'm going down a rabbit hole. I also have a bunch more stuff that's like tucked into. Um, no, you totally can in Trainz, but it's a different. It's a you're dealing with some very different constraints and systems. And let's be real, I could totally automate this whole world if I wanted to. It's just not my focus right now. There's some incredible things that you can do. Bovine University. Um, Wait, what if I make it a depot or section house? Yeah, this is cute. Somebody will probably recognize that. I want kind of a smaller barn. Thick cows. Yeah, I've automated a little bit of it. It's not been like an incredible amount by any stretch of the imagination, but I have automated a little bit of it. And it's what I've got done is sort of a proof of concept. Not that I needed a proof of concept, but why does it look like the Roseville Depot? I mean, it's a Colorado and Southern thing, so something like that. Um, Trainz is like magic. It can do amazing things, but you have to spend like 10 years locked in a solitary room doing nothing but study to truly understand it. I've done other things. I've done at least a couple of other things. I made trading cards. I guess other than that, not much, but I did make trading cards. It is complex, and at the same time, it's fairly simple. It operates under a set of regularly straight, regular, sorry, relatively straightforward rules. Um, but it's not necessarily, yeah, it is complex in that the things that can affect it are complex, but it's not complex in that you don't have a ton of different options when you're working, when you're working on it or through it. I mean, the scripts that are available even on the download station are pretty good. Like I can't fault that. They are pretty good. Um, but they're not incredible, and they don't do everything. Uh, I did also host a series of doubleheaders, which ended in an appropriately epic and climactic way. Uh, for those who have not watched the doubleheaders, it's 4 episodes. It's worth it. Watch from the beginning to the end. Don't start off in the middle. Yeah, I have a bunch of stuff that I did not have before because I downloaded some roots so that I could do the Iron Horseman thing, which actually the final episode of that should be coming out tonight, if I remember right. Um, yeah, it should be popping up any moment now, as a matter of fact. Oh wait, no, that was yesterday. Wait a minute, how come episode 9 never showed up? What's going on here? Hold on, I gotta check something. Oh, and I can't just switch in the middle of. Hold on a moment, please. Now I need to sign in on an incognito window. And I need to see what's going on, because that should have come out yesterday. Not now, thank you. My channel. Videos. It did come out yesterday, it just didn't show up in the thing. The hell? I guess that broke. I'm just gonna put it in here. There. Weird. Anyway, I did that also. And yeah, I had to download a bunch of stuff for that. Um, it came out, it didn't show up in Discord. Uh, I just made that thing. I'm gonna need to check on it. I mean, I don't know when I'm gonna need to check on it, but I'm gonna need to check on it at some point. Um, let's see, I'll do one more, because then we'll have them all done on this side, right? These are all done. These are all done. Well, these two are done. And then everything on this side is not done yet. Everything on this side is done, right? No. This doesn't have one. Oh, this one could get a little spur, actually. It won't, but it could. Or it could have had a spur. So wait, what am I missing? I'm missing this one, this one, this one. Okay, I'm missing 3 over here. Ah, man, I missed this. I missed these guys. I really meant to get all these at once. Or, I meant to work in, like, a straight line. Oh, well. Some of these I'm realizing that I would have had. Oh, that's not what I'm looking for. I would have had assets were it not for. Um, Somebody's sending me things on Snapchat. Uh, I would have had assets were it not for the the game not like downloading all the routes that came with it right away, which is not something that I realized was a problem. But it is. You've got to go through and you've got to download the routes individually if you want them, I guess. I don't want these barns. I want. This is sort of a cute barn. But we're gonna be right up on the thing here. Let's go with a high detail barn. Not like that. Those are small. Um, Barn garage. Barn. Alright. See you, Ryan. Oh, the generic JR barn. Yeah, there we go. I also need a much wider area on which to place this barn and its corresponding farmhouse. So yeah, uh, I need to start looking at websites that can handle, or website builders that can handle that, or just look at learning how to make a website. I mean, it can't be that hard, right? I'm sure it's actually fairly difficult, but if I can't find a website builder with the kind of systems that I need, then I'm gonna have to figure out how to make one. Like, there are some domains that I'm looking at. Some of them are registered under website builders that exist. Some of them are just completely unregistered. Um, it's a little bit of a toss up, you know, as to what my options are. But I do have multiple options, and then there are, the options of those website builders, which will probably let you pick out any domain you want as long as it's not registered to somebody else. Now, ideally, you want a domain that's kind of short, that's kind of catchy, that you can write on something easily. Um, Even if it isn't short, you want something memorable so that people will keep it in their mind and then punch it into their address bar. So, and then once we're like out there in the world, then people can find us through other ways. That doesn't mean we're not going to need like the crowd support of people sort of telling their friends about it or posting things at their local model railroad clubs, or bringing their cards to shows and being like, look at these cool things that I had. I mean, even if you don't think they're cool, at least please pretend that they are, for for our sake. um yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you haven't gotten them yet, you're running out of time. And like, between now and when I get the website, the only time that you'll be able to get trading cards off of me is if you go and like tap me on the shoulder, DM me like, hey, let's make a deal here, which has proven to be troublesome for some people because not everyone has a good way to pay. Because I know, yeah, normal advertising. Thank you. Uh, I know Kickstarter can handle like direct credit card transactions, things like that. Obviously, I cannot. If you have PayPal, then I can work with you, but I can't really otherwise. But I wasn't able to get all the advertising that I wanted to do, in part because I never was able to get together with Heist and play stuff. And I think he's out of town now, so sort of out of luck. I do want to do a sort of. I'd love to drag him into a celebrity royale, so to speak. And I've talked about this, quietly before, but now it doesn't. I don't have anything to hide. It was going to come out along with the second batch of trading cards back when the batch was going to be narrow gauge. Uh, and look at all these JR stuff. Sorry about that. Um, so yeah, I was gonna rope him and some other folks into a royale, and I do want to get back to doing royales now that the double headers bracket is done, the tournament is done. And we will see how quickly that happens. It depends on a lot of things. I'm thinking that we'll get back to it probably in December or so. In the meantime, I think I'm going to be hosting a screenshot competition. But all of that is kind of up in the air, remains to be seen. Um, I can't say anything for certain. But I appreciate everyone getting excited nevertheless. Um, if you were waiting to do A screenshot comp. Don't worry, that's coming. Don't worry. Um, and if you weren't, oh well, you're do it anyway. I don't know what to say. But a lot of people were asking for that. Like, hey, when are we going to do a screenshot competition again? So I figured I'll give the people what they want. Now, I have all the trading cards in hand. It shouldn't be that long before I can get them out the door. In fact, I've already shipped off one pack because Mason wanted me to send him a pack and also um, it would have been at at one point in time it would have been a rail served something, probably before this barn was here. Probably there was some other barn here. Because this thing's brand new, as you can see. Um, man, I just can't think today. I am struggling. Someone needs to set me on a train of thought that'll, like, get my brain properly turning. Maybe I just haven't had enough water? Because I don't even know what I'm looking for. I do want to have... Yeah, gumbo would be nice. I do want to have, like, some stuff here. Else, do you have any free 2-foot lore? Oh, boy. Yeah, and I should probably talk about that. Uh, I don't think I should do it right now without the aid of the map. But I will pull up the map later and I'll talk about the changes that I've made. Because I have made changes to the Tolbrun map since the last episode, since last Tuesday. So, I hope everyone, we can definitely talk about that. Really disappointed with the gumbo at the World War II Museum. That's a shame. After Illinois governor is just said Illinois is getting bigger. Should I be prepared for an invasion? I mean, the chance of being invaded by Illinois may be slight, but it's never zero. I would not call it bullying Hemlock. I believe we made a deal. I was looking for a good excuse, and I think you were too. So I'd like to think this is sort of a symbiotic uh, agreement that we have going on here, where you're going to make the thing, and I'm going to use the thing, so that you have a purpose for making it, and I have a purpose for using it, or using something. There's more to it than just you begged and pleaded, and I finally gave you what you wanted. I know it is what the people want, but you know, I have a long-standing history of not giving the people what they want. Just ask really old messages in the Iron Horseman Chronicles, or in the Iron Horseman Discord, not the Chronicles. Of course, now I'm not allowed to not give the people what they want without severe legal action. Also, is a 2-foot loving venom-like symbiote called Hemlock confirmed. Hemlock is the little voice in the back of my head that says, "Be gay, do crimes." There we go. I'm going to need to relocate some of these trees, but this is fine. Well, Shelby certainly isn't getting what she wants with Blam. Yeah, no, that's true. For those who didn't attend the last coffee shop, I read a portion of what would have been the script for Iron Horseman the Motion Picture, which was supposed to be a movie set in 2003 after, long after the Iron Horseman Chronicles is gone, come and gone. So 50 years after the original episode of the Iron Horseman Chronicles. Didn't know Hem was trash on a train. Well, it's not very kind of themselves to be trash on a train, you know, to refer to themselves as trash on a train, but I can't stop them. So, um, you know, it do what it be. I'm gonna need some grass over here. That's the shrub spline. I want that. Nope. Can I have grass, please? Thank you. But yeah, I did debut that, and at the end of it, there is, yeah, if you look at that script, if you want to just go straight for the balls here, you want to go straight for the script, go into homework and writing. It's the pinned thing from me that says submissions for coffee shop. Go in here. Go into the most recent coffee shop. Go into the Iron Horseman motion picture script and just scroll right to the bottom. Or just like look all over it. There's stuff all over it. So username I selected back in freshman year of high school and never changed. Yeah. What is the profile picture? I always thought it was 2 foot. I wasn't sure. Um, it's always it actually reminds me, because I'm just looking at a tiny picture. It reminds me of like a black version of the little 440 that you brought on Operation Apollo. It's probably not, but you know. Oh, it's 9.99. Oh, okay, yeah, I never would have guessed that looking at the little thumbnail there. It's kind of it's weird, and I this sort of took me by surprise when we did the doubleheader test when people all brought speed record engines except for one person. Uh, I didn't realize how much people actually sort of cared about slash remembered 999. Uh, and I'm not saying there aren't good reasons to, but it's something that I feel like I genuinely hadn't thought about in a long time. At the very least, I hadn't talked about it to anybody in forever. And suddenly, there were a handful of conversations on it in a relatively short span of time. And I'm going, huh, I didn't think that, you know, not that people didn't know about it, but I didn't think people cared. I also didn't realize it was in Chicago. I guess I had no idea where it was. I didn't get to go to that museum. It would have been nice to see it. One of I honestly wouldn't necessarily say it's one of my favorite New York Central engines. I feel like if I was a real diehard Pensy guy, like, you know, outside of all of the joking around that I and we do, uh, if I was a diehard Pensy guy, I might say that 999 is, you know, an acceptable sort of caveat to all Central engines are bad because it, quote unquote, won us the speed record, even if it probably didn't. Uh, but you know, I don't know. It just surprises me. So the Museum of Science and Industry with a rocket replica in Burlington Zephyr. Isn't there also a whole U-boat in there? I think I remember Weibold going, not some time ago, and sending pictures. We talked about the U-boat the on the Horseman trip. If I remember right, the thing with the U-boat is touring it is another cost entirely. So T1 Steel has the speed record in my heart. Yeah, I mean, maybe it does. In in reality, if we want to talk about like purely what could have been or what's possibly likely, isn't New York City in everyone's list of top 3 surviving New York Central steamers? Ouch. You know what's amazing? Daniel Nason is at the top of the list of uh, Daniel Nason is at the top of the list of surviving New York Central steam. Or sorry, New York Central, New Haven steam. Also, hey Mew. Uh, Good to see you. I was wondering where you had gone. Um, I know you were kind of bummed that you missed the opportunity to get Batch 1 trading cards. If you, this is a reminder to everyone that there are a couple of days left to get Batch 2. I think there's, yeah, because it ends at midnight on the 30th, so that would make it uh 2 days from now. 2 days from now? Something like that. 2, maybe 3 days. No, because we've got to get all the way through the 28th, all the way through the 29th, and then all the way through the 30th. So it's 3 days and change from now. No, there's that Hudson the person found in a barn. Just kidding, that's not real. Um, what's the fourth? Yeah, what is it a? It's something little, isn't it? I feel like I'm not remembering what the fourth is. I knew uh the Mohawks in 999. Oh, there's an 060. Okay, yeah. Oh right, the 060. The one that got beamed by the grain car a couple of years ago. Oh man, everyone should remember that. That's right. Uh, it's funny because that was not that far from me. Wasn't that in Utica? I think I was still in college when that happened. That would not have been that far from me. I should have gone and visited. Uh, the Eagle Lake. Oh, isn't yeah? Is one of them ex New York Central? Still more survivors than New Haven. Uh, the Pensio 60, the one that still runs, is kind of neat, but it is like a weird engine. It is not. I'm not gonna say it's not a real Pensy engine, but it's not a normal Pensy engine by any stretch. Uh, one of the Eagle Lake engines is ex Central. Damn, you know what? There's a lot of Central steam around. I don't feel bad for them at all. Just kidding. Um, I mean, if I did want to cry about it to a Central foamer, I could just be like, my home road is the New Haven, and all I've got is this, and just show a picture of, everyone's favorite, beautiful Daniel Nason. It is technically a locomotive that operated under the New Haven. Like, there's nothing else, not a single trace of anything. I don't even think there are any like tenders or, converted tenders left. But it is, it exists. Like, also, I should maybe go through at some point and read off the comments that were made on the Locobase dossier. I'm not sure everyone got to see the dossier before I sent it off. But it was a thing to Stephen West of like, hey, here's some errors that we found, some issues in the website. Um, and here's some new locomotives for you. I don't know when the new locomotives are going to get added, but 3025 is an IRL kit bash. It is. Uh, there are not many like it. There are not many like people just doing that in real life. Um, but there's an example. Recently, Kavan started a thread um, in like the hobo rank channels that amounted to like, or it's entitled references for Trainz route building or something like that. Trainz route reference photos, and it's just supposed to be like, here you go, put put photos for reference in here, photos for your like good ideas, stuff you want to build, that sort of thing. And I'm like, no, this is what this thread is. This thread is no, I swear it's prototypical. Look at this one image of the one time it happened in real life for like a bizarre track arrangement or whatever. The thing I always love to go back to is the Troy and Schenectady's highway crossing, Interstate 78 or 87 crossing the Northway at grade with a traffic light. Uh, they had to call the cops out every time they used it. That sort of entertainment. And then the Troy Union Station being downtown, sandwiched in roads, and not having enough like space on either side of the station to fit any cars, so you could fit like a 4-car train in the station. Otherwise, you'd be blocking everything. Because it was just bookended by roads. So those are two things that I learned about while I was at RPI, thanks to the NEB&W, which I always wondered what happened to their website, because the website was always such an amazing repository for all these pictures and stuff, and I can't get on it anymore. Maybe it's just because I don't have a login, but I don't remember what my login was in the first place. Uh, but it doesn't seem like it works at all. What was the one rare that had a 44 tonner? It can only take one car at a time because the grades were so crazy. Um, do you have any idea how little that narrows it down? I'm sure that there were plenty of little railroads like that. 9 engines left, 2 Mohawks, 2 060s, a 280, a DT&I 442, DeWitt Clinton replica, and the 2 Eagle Lake engines. Wait, they're both ex-New York Central? I don't think I realized that at all. Oh, and 10 Miss 999, the one that started this conversation. Uh, that's interesting. I mean, yeah, at least they've got that. For all the grousing that does exist about, like, well, New York Central scrapped all their steam. I mean, they did. They scrapped a lot of it. But stacking them up against a lot of other major railroads, they have a good bit of stuff that survives. I mean, obviously, it pales in comparison to, like, what the Pennsy or the Q have, or the Union Pacific. Uh, but still, it's not, you know, it's not as little as the prevailing sentiment might lead you to believe, and I'm not sure I even realized that until just now. Sure, it was in Vermont and primarily street running. I don't. I mean, please find me a reference to this. I might want to replicate it. If anyone knows what Dean is talking about, please speak up. Also, I don't really want to repeat myself, but I feel like I blow my load too soon sometimes, and I talk about, like, the thing that's been on my mind that I've really wanted to talk about too early in the episode before people have sort of gathered in. I already did my whole spiel on what I think the website is going to be like, and how you can use it, and, like, the ways you can interact with it, and, funding different batches and moving your funding around. But the Madison Incline, yeah. I don't know if that was it, or if that's, I don't know. I mean, that's not in Vermont. So obviously it's not it. I don't know why I opened my big mouth. Give me the FR grass. Phrasing. What did I do that was worthy of phrasing? I don't care anyway. Alright, let's grab this. Let's make this riverbed a little bit more riverbeddy. Oh, that looks good. 5 engines in total and 2 060s. Speaking of subsidiaries, you know what doesn't survive any of the B&A engines? I'm pretty sure. The B&A was dieselized, like, overnight. It's actually kind of an impressive tale where they were just like, yeah, okay, you know what? We've got these new things, we call them diesels. Let's just throw a bunch of them on the B&A and see if they can handle it all by themselves. And if they can, then we'll just do that with everything. And turns out it worked. Which is a shame, because how awesome would it have been to have a double ender in preservation? What a weird locomotive. I wonder how they, like, were to their engineers. I wonder if there's, like, any uh engineers accounts of what it was like running the B&A double enders. I think I've got too many trees down here. The Horseman route has too many trees. It's been revamped, and I was trying to record some stuff on it for the World Tour. Which, if people haven't caught up with the World Tour either, that is something that I recommend. Because we're gonna do a Q&A, and I want you to post your comments on the last video there. Yeah, this area is a little bit too dense. especially when you're down here at ground level. See how it gets, you know, rubber bandy like that? That's no good. Don't want that. That means you put down too many trees. I could probably even turn the graphic settings down further. If I turned off shadows, I bet this wouldn't really be much of a problem. Never heard double ender before. Yeah, they were commuter tanks. They were 466 commuter tank engines. They looked like if you took a New York Central like J3A, unstreamlined of course, and just put it like nose up with the tender in the hydraulic press, and just sort of smushed it down, so you have this thing that effectively looks like a Hudson, but it's a commuter tank engine. Uh, it's got the same sort of stylings. They are really unique locomotives. I think that was the only time. It's certainly the only time I can think of that a 466 wheel arrangement was even used. I think there's one instance in a different country, but not one that I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, the B&A used it most heavily. I think they had two different classes of double ender. It's an American Baltic. I mean, it's no, no. I don't think you can call that an American Baltic, but Honey, I Shrunk the J. Montpelier and Bear Railroad. Oh, okay. Or Barry. Depending on who you ask, it's Bear or Barry. I don't think I agree with either. Putting my J3A in a hydraulic press because I want a commuter tank engine. Claremont and Concord. Oh, okay. Concord. I was just in Concord. Um, yeah, Baltic is just the European term for a Hudson. I mean, there were some U.S. railroads or, non-European railroads that used Baltic. I would wager most of the world used Baltic. Um, but, the U.S. used Hudson. So you can use them pretty much interchangeably. Um, we did have this argument yesterday. And we decided that, so, you know, some people claim that it was the French that, invented the 464 type, but it was one dude in South Africa that invented it, like 20 years before the French did. The French called it the Baltic. We don't know what this guy called it, but his last name was Reed. So I think to dispel all the confusion about whether it's called a Hudson or a Baltic, we should just always call them Reeds going forward. And only people within the server that have heard me say this or seen me write this will understand, but that's okay because we'll all understand each other. Anyone else outside of this group, you don't need to understand. You're not in the know. Who pinged me? What does a VRC and one mean in synchro? You're putting more vehicles through than it can handle. What is this? Oh, okay, yeah. I see the photo, Dean. The Milwaukee rope. The Canadians did call it Hudson. And the Milwaukee wrote called it Baltic except for the F7s, which they called Hudsons. Why the change of heart? I don't know, but that's the way the Milwaukee row crumbles, I guess. All right, grab this. It's funny seeing it's not unusual to be loved by anyone, and it's not unusual for the European or African or Asian counterparts of locomotives to have different names, for the wheel arrangement than the corresponding, American locomotive. That happens a lot, but it's interesting to see what that happens with, and especially when the railroads or countries that don't agree are right next to each other. Like a 444 in the states is often called a Reading, whereas in Canada it's a Jubilee. I don't actually know where the Jubilee name comes from, and I'm wondering if that came first, or the Reading name came first. Not that I want to call it a Reading, but you know, Selkirks are better anyway. You mean a Santa Fe? Or wait, no, that's not a Santa Fe. That's a what is it? That's a Southern Pacific. Uh, Either way, there's another one, and it tends to be the ones that are more homegrown. Uh, I know that it's on my stat sheet for Chinook. Um, Texas type. Okay, yeah, thank you. I was like, it's one of the big ones. I don't know the big engines too well. Once you get once you get up past a northern size, my understanding of what things are called like stops gets pretty far from 100%. Um, like I know the Yellowstone exists, but I don't know exactly what it is. Uh, I know the cab forward also exists, and I assume it's the opposite of a Yellowstone. I know that a 2882 is a Malay mogul, but I don't think everyone called them that. In fact, I'm not sure too many people at all called them that. I know, obviously, Big Boy and Challenger because you can't be a foamer and not. Um, let's see, what else can I think of that I don't know? I mean, yeah, like the 210-4s and stuff like that. Even a 210-2 is a Santa Fe, except the SP called them decapods because they're petty. Um, in fairness, if the PRR had built any Hudsons, they probably wouldn't have called them that. Maybe they would have called them Baltic out of spite. Oh wait, didn't the PRR have like two Hudsons, something like that, like as a test? Or maybe I'm thinking of just the K5s, which were just big Pacifics. Maybe, can't recall. Somebody with more knowledge or accessibility of knowledge can tell me that. Technically, Malay has nothing to do with a real arrangement. Yeah, that also is true, and something that a lot of people get wrong, including me, all the time. Um, okay, transcontinental passenger service on the CPR. That's interesting. Um, would have been like a K6. I mean, it would have been a different. Yeah, they had Hudson Electrics, the P series. Okay, here's the thing. This is something that I came across a while ago and have wanted to talk about, uh, which is the incongruity between the PR's electric classification, uh, its steam classification, and non rigid versus non-rigid frames, that sort of thing. Which is, right? For starters, the first and only Northern that the Pennsylvania Railroad had was the R1 Electric. That's Raymond, if you've read the Johnson short stories. Now, that locomotive, again, yeah, it's the only example of that type. However, the S1 would have been a Northern originally. It would have, well, it would have been a duplex Northern, not unlike the T1s. But they called it the S1. Because, I suppose, because they had to change the wheel arrangement. Now, that sort of set down, S means 6886, or 686, or 6446. Sorry, 6446. And when they do make a 4444, it's a T series. So now we have the R series for a regular Northern, a T series for a duplex Northern, and the S series for a, I don't really know what you want to call it, an S1. Um, and then they go make the turbine. And the turbine, hi baby, bye baby. Uh, the turbine is a 686, not a 6446, but a 686. Also originally planned to be a 484, but it was too heavy, so they needed to S stands for slippery. I mean, I think the S2 was anything but slippery, but yeah. They're running out of letters. I don't think they had run out of letters yet. But either way, they could have reused some other, they went with reusing S, is what I'm saying, instead of reusing R, which may have been more appropriate for the S2 from its original sort of design idea. So now you have, the R1, which is a northern, the T1, which is a duplex northern, the S1, which is a 686 or 6446, a duplex S, and then you have the S2, which is a non-duplex, a 686. The U1, yeah, there we go. So if they had made an actual northern, like an actual 484, would it have been an R1? Would it have been an R2 rather? Would it have been a T2? Because it appears that the PRR classifies a duplex and a non-duplex of the same relative real arrangement the same because of the S1 and S2 being together. Or would it have been something else entirely? That's one of the things. And then you have the Q1 and Q2, which also sort of solidifies the idea that as long as they're the same drivers and the same orientation, the same sets of wheels and the same orientation, whether or not it's a duplex, you apply the same class letter. So that's another point for it would be a T2. But that seems weird. You think they would just go with the R2 because they already have that wheel arrangement, but then why wasn't the T1 the R2? And I feel like this is a discussion, leading power leading for single cab logos. Yeah, or for single, yeah. Or leading power trailing. Okay, yeah, no, I get what you mean. The same number of leading power trailing for single frame logos. Because I don't know if they ever had a really little Malay. The PRR and Malays have a really poor history, but excuse me. But if they ever did, we would get to compare that hypothesis. Like if they ever had a a 2462 Malay, for example, it would be the same as the N types. So yeah, I know it's a question. And Mew, I actually disagree. The electrics also make a lot of sense. Like they follow the same convention. A GG1, because a G is a 460, and a GG1, because it's GG, good game, is just two 460s together. Like the DD1, the Ds were 440s, so a DD1 is two 440s coupled together. The electric, especially the multi, the multi-thing setup, the CC2 is an 0880 is right, and that's a Malay, but not an electric, but still remains the point. When the Q1 was proposed, they were also offered a Challenger. Yeah. But it just strikes me as that part strikes me as perplexing. Because because the R1 only has the one wheelbase, it makes sense that it only gets one letter, whereas the other electrics, well, and the P5s, I suppose, the other electrics and the Bs. Okay, there are a lot of electrics that only use one letter, but it is a fairly simple one. This is your wheel arrangement. We'll designate a letter to a wheel arrangement. And you know what I want to do really quick? We're taking a detour. I'm going to look at something. Nope. Hold on. Let me look at The almighty white classification seat. And you guys are coming with me. So, hold on. So this is a total of... Oh, this is longer than I thought. This is a total of 78. So that's the alphabet about 3 times. Because I was thinking, how many wheel arrangements could there possibly be? But if we want to narrow this down to wheel arrangements that railroads, that the PRR might have used, or that a railroad would have had at one time, you probably would not have had more than 26 different wheel arrangements on hand at a given time, not including diesels. Also, I did fix this. Where is it? There it is. Read. So that's good. I did have to write web on something. I had to look this one up. I had never heard of a taffy type, but when I made the card for the 062s, the Uinta 062s for the 3-foot batch that never came out, why wasn't the R1 a DD3? Because it was a single rigid frame. The R1 is the PRR's only 484. And that's why it gets a pass for being a wackadoodle like letter, because it is in and of itself unique. The R1 wouldn't have been a DD anything because it's one powered set as opposed to a DD, which is 2 powered sets which are articulated together. And I would say the fact that there is a discrepancy there is more fuel to the confusion fire, but the DD ones are articulated. So they still follow the sort of idea that was set out of, if it's articulated, you use 2 letters. Well, technically PRR did at one point loan some Reading T-1s. Well, yeah, but that's not something that was theirs. I mean, the stuff that doesn't belong to them, I feel like, you're breaking it anyway. It's not like they reclassified it while it was there. When was that, by the way? Like, what year was that? Because I didn't actually consider that when doing Horseman lore between Chris and Johnson in particular. Not that Chris would have ever taken part in that, because he went to the Iron Horseman Railroad immediately. We gave them back. Q2's better anyway. Some people have called the Q2 the successful duplex, which I'm not sure if I agree with, but I can't really disagree with it. Like, if I feel like the T1 is also fairly successful. It may not have been the silver bullet for steam power that the PRR wanted, but you can run a mainline railroad with Q2s and T1s. I mean, you've got to have a well-built railroad. You've got to have tons of money to spend on your physical plant. But before the Pennsy started going downhill, they sure did. It was never a question of money. They didn't keep the K4s around because they couldn't afford new locomotives. They kept the K4s around because they went, these are good enough. I don't know what their, plan for the future was, but I can assume that there wasn't one. The Q2s were very powerful machines that did, yes, they sucked up a lot of fuel and water. I think the S2 was the real marker for that, though. I can't actually recall ever reading something about the Q2's performance metrics, although I can believe it. They weren't making the crews suffer. The crews had as many hours as they could want. Oh, May 1956. Wow, that's late. I guess it's not really that much of a surprise, but it is really late. Um, there we go. There we go. Yeah, they kept the K4s around because they had 400 and change of them, and they could just do whatever they wanted. If you can slap another K4 on there, it's not a problem. Like the L1s and the I1s. I mean, they had 600 I1s. That's insane. For a railroad in America to have that many of the same locomotive is insane. And the amazing thing is, they're hardly the star. Like, I think the I1s were the single largest class of locomotives that the PRR had. But I feel like you don't see nearly as many photos of them out and about as you see L1s and especially K4s. I mean, K4s are like, the baby. Uh, they're the darling of PRR steam. Um, 425 minus however many destroyed. Well, yeah, I mean, it's cost of doing business, Tyler. It's acceptable casualties. Um, 598 hippos. Yeah, that's a lot of engines. And we'll talk if you want to talk about the locomotives making life hell for their engineers. Don't speak no further than the hippos. Plan a water stop every hour and a half. Wow. Yeah, but I bet they were hauling like 3 trains worth of stuff. Uh, Also, water scoops, guys. Come on. Also, they were probably going faster than your average freight too. I mean, I don't think one can understate how powerful the Q2s were. I mean, these are the most powerful locomotives ever static tested. Um, they're they are nothing to shake a stick at. And yeah, maybe I'm just like a Q2 apologist over here, but maybe maybe they were. I mean, they probably were the most successful, if not the only successful, duplex design that the Pennsy had, or that anybody had, really. Unless you count the Mount Washington cog. It's interesting to see that and think about, you know, what could Steam have been like, and clearly, like, the Ace 3000 had the same vision of, like, oh, we'll do duplex. And they wouldn't have been the first, they wouldn't have been the only, they were just, like, the PRRs just standouts in America. The thing that's incredible is the size of their 4-cylinder engines, not the fact that they had them. If you look the world over, I mean, there are plenty of 4-cylinder designs in Europe and beyond. Uh, because when you hit the limits of loading gauge, then you got to go complicated. You've got to reach for something more complex. And if diesels had come along later, you'd probably see more of these locomotives springing up on railroads in the US, railroads that hit the limit of their loading gauge like the PRR did, and they just couldn't make the locomotives any bigger. That hadn't happened for most people, for most railroads. The biggest players, I mean, the Santa Fe, the Union Pacific, the Southern Pacific, they still could stand to make engines larger. And yeah, they started experimenting. UP had the 9000 class, and they had some real serious, articulateds and stuff like that. But I don't think it ever got to the point of, I don't want to call it desperation. Yeah, boiler cracking problem. Yeah, no, I mean, they were maintenance hogs. I mean, they were, yeah, I'm going to say it. They were cutting edge locomotive design. Uh, it may seem insane, because it kind of is, but they were cutting edge locomotive design. They are, like, they're the most you can fit in a package of that size. Duplex drive is more so to cut down on the reciprocating mass. Yes, and for a passenger engine, who's worried about speed, I absolutely 100% agree. That was the main advantage of duplex design. But for a freight engine, you have the reduced hammer blow, but you also have the advantage of more power. it's it's there's more than one ball in play here. And yeah, I mean, some European designs like, vastly eclipsed the Q2. Some successful European designs, probably, vastly eclipsed the Q2 in complexity, in, sort of a power to weight standpoint. Uh, and they're looked back on more fondly as some beautiful machines a lot of the time. Because, not because, people hate the Pensy or something. This isn't like a, my Russian bias thing, my French bias, but more like they got more time in the spotlight, and they had to happen earlier, sooner, because they hit the limits of what they could build in a locomotive of a given size. So they had to look inward instead of outward. They had to make things more efficient instead of bigger. And yeah, only a couple of railroads in the U.S. started hitting that wall. Uh, the PR being one of them. The New York Central not being one of them. Uh, Also, which, while I will admit, in most debates, like who was cooler, who was better, the New York Central wins. I hate to admit it, but the New York Central wins in a lot of time periods on a lot of subjects. Not all of them, not all the time, but it does. Uh, does that make it, like, better TM? No, I don't think so. But the New York Central, in a lot of cases, did more with less. They had a better route. They had some better engines. I mean, really, I'm sure most of you recall when, like, if you put a T1 up against a Niagara, the T1 does not win. It has some advantages, but it does not win. And that's because they were incredible locomotives. Niagaras were incredible locomotives. And Mohawks, more of the same. Hudsons were not. Their Hudsons were not. But they did what they were designed to do. They may have wanted to build a duplex Niagara because suddenly Alco's probably looking at this T1 thing and going, whoa, 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 what? The Tigers were terrible. Not the Tiger. I mean, they were both terrible tanks. Let's be real here. I was about to say the Tigers were terrible tanks, trying to be dismissive of the T-34s. They were both terrible tanks. I mean, they had some advantages, obviously, but there's a whole, like, I've started to, like, come around to some of Laserpig's content. He's got a great video on the T-34, which is interesting, because I think his point in the end is that the T-34s aren't actually as bad as we think they are. They're just aggressively mid. So, yeah, it's funny because he talks about how bad they were, but they still. Well, I think his point is that they weren't bad on purpose; that they were just bad. Which is yeah, okay, yeah, that's fair. Um, it was a while, like, the video doesn't have, like, a conclusion at the end. He doesn't put the Tug 2 man. Oh god, not another one. Um, yeah, I mean, if you put enough T-34s at a Tiger, and it's true, and it's because, again, I had to sort of take a minute to let his point percolate through my mind again, and it's not that the T-34s were, like, a good tank. Obviously, his point is that they sucked. His point is that they didn't suck on purpose. So take back what I was saying about aggressively mid, although they kind of are aggressively mid. Um, they just weren't bad on purpose. They were bad because they were bad. They were bad because they had terrible quality control. They were bad because the armor was made out of crappy materials. They were bad because the sights were terrible. They were bad for all sorts of reasons. They're not a good tank design. But in the grand scheme of things, they weren't appallingly terrible. Like, especially design-wise. And I did just say a good tank design, but a good product, they were not. A good design, they were okay. I mean, Russia just had issues with quality control, which I get it. Uh, about Tog 3. Does that have rockets on it? Um, Mid-design, bad reality. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. People are busy today, I guess. We usually get, a good 10, 12 viewers. We get 6. No, Shermans were pretty good. I mean, Shermans had very good build quality and good crew survivability. Obviously, they had their issues, like they were really effing tall, um, and so they sort of became targets. Their armor wasn't like good armor per se for the most part, but it was a better quality armor than say the T-34 that wouldn't spall in the interior of the tank if you got hit quite as much. Um, yeah, what sort of metal to use? Type for O62s. Most O62s were used in Wales, and Taffy had been nicknamed for a Welsh person. Okay. Taff upon Cardiff was built. I see. Um, but anyway, Webb was the other. Webb is, I think, the American name for it, or American-ish name for it. I can't remember why. Um, but yeah, I mean, you can't say the Shermans were a bad tank. I think they've got a much better sort of stake for the good tank mantle than the T-34. And honestly, they were probably some of the best tanks that were made for the Second World War, just in terms of reliability and build quality. Um, and they weren't like amazing weapons of war, but they didn't have to be. They just needed to be good, and they were good. Uh, you're not gonna. They aren't wonder weapons, but wonder weapons never win wars anyway. Really, I mean, unless we're talking nuclear bombs. Like this is the only example in history that I can think of where a wonder weapon actually won a war. Uh, so yeah, I don't know. We're talking about tanks now. How did we get here? We were talking about duplexes. Trainz were well regarded by the Russian army. Because they were assigned to them for an American weapons of their own. Yeah, I can't blame that. Yes, baby. Oh, postcards.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do with these?
One's for your mom and one's for Shelby.
Oh, okay. I love you.
I love
Let me know when Let me know when you need me to check the pasta, okay? Or you can just bring me pasta. Well, I know you have like another hour, don't you? Anyway, um, Yamato won the war, just not for the Japanese. Um, yeah. I just put it somewhere. Just bring that over here, I guess. Um,
putting it off the counter.
yeah.
When you want to do this, you want to keep it as a keepsake.
What is this? The map? I wanted to keep this.
That's mine. Yours is somewhere.
We don't need to keep the map. It's a map. Um. Oh yeah. Yeah, and I think Niagara versus T-34 is, or not Niagara versus T-34, locomotive versus. Uh, was there a T-34 locomotive? What railroad had a class called the T-34? That's what I need to know. Um, yeah, Niagara versus T-34 versus Tiger. And now I think the T1 is probably like the closest thing to a Tiger, and then T-34 is probably like a like a K4. I don't know. It's like a shoddy Pacific, you know. Uh, oh, Thank you. Are these all? They've all have my name on it.
Yes. Do you want to
What is
keep
this?
It's a United Healthcare event.
I,
It's probably old as hell. Do you want to keep this from the little pop-up event we went to?
if you want to as a souvenir, but honestly, no, not really. I mean,
These are all.
no, now I'm just going through my mail.
Sorry.
Uh,
These are,
yeah,
all this is expired.
but yeah, I mean, it's. Yeah, I don't think that's a fair comparison. I think because nobody's aside from T-34s and Shermans. I feel like it's difficult to compare medium tanks throughout the or like just tanks at all throughout the war. Very few tanks in the Second World War I feel like have like bona fide one-to-one equivalents because of the speed at which technology progressed, because of the different ideologies and sort of tactics and whatever the word is that I'm looking for that the different countries employed. I'm looking for a certain word. Doctrine. Thank you. Thank you, self. The different doctrines that the different countries employed, and thus as a result, how you built those tanks to that doctrine. What are you going to compare to a Churchill, right? What are you going to compare to that? It's an infantry tank. Nobody else was doing that. Nobody else was doing that with any degree of seriousness. And meanwhile, the British are like, why shouldn't our tank go 4 miles an hour and no faster? Let the people keep up with it. Come on. It's like, what, huh? Sure, I mean, it's like you're driving around a pillbox, but Russian armored trains that they could have put a T-34 turret on. Okay, that's fair. That did happen, I'm pretty sure. Uh, Hi, kitty cat. Um, so, yeah. Well, I mean, we have that, at least. We'll always have Paris. And yeah, I mean, what else can you compare? I mean, you can compare one-to-one like some of the light tanks from early in the war. But the closest thing the Germans had to a medium tank was like the Panzer IV, threes and fours, which also had armor you could, sneeze through. Um, I mean, I guess you can compare like a Churchill to a KV-1, maybe. But even then, if we got to talk about things that were made in like real quantities. Kitty, the cat's at the top of the stairs. I can see him. All right, what time is it? It's 8:45. What can we do now? Well, I could always go back to looking through 3-foot stuff, but I suppose that isn't very riveting for anybody. Um, so maybe we'll take a break here and look at the map instead of waiting for the very end. I also started putting stuff down over here that I was going to use, and then that's all gone, unfortunately. I mean, I have some stuff, but I lost a good bit of work. I don't really want to work this side of the river until we get more done elsewhere. But, yeah. Well, that's what I mean talking about the new 2-foot. So let me pull up the map. Maps. Not Horseman. I always click on Horseman. Tolbrin superimposed. So, I'm going to introduce everyone to a new railroad today. While that loads up, I'm probably going to re-add the extra track here that I got rid of. And also, we need to go through and, do this yard properly. noteworthy that noteworthy that this inner track is the through, so like up this way and then out instead of this outer track being the through. And the reason for that is because that's how you access like some of this yard. Mount Desert Island, no, it's not the Mount Desert Island. That's 3 foot, duh. Oh man, how did I do this before? Because it came out so good, I liked it a lot. I mean, number one is I just needed to start scooting things over, and then we'll adjust from there. Um, because my thing was, when I originally built this, it's like, oh, we need to make, we need to leave the appropriate amount of space between tracks. We don't have to do that when it's 3 foot because you've got all this, like, the loading gauge is smaller anyway. Um, this also I can probably scoot in like so. Oh, I see the issue. Because this is actually too close to that. So pull this back. Um, I might have it come off of this track instead, or can I scoot this back? I had this. I was so happy with this, with the way this came out yesterday, and now I'm upset. Well, this isn't making frogs. I think the kicker was that I started trying to build it off the wrong track. Hi TJ, hi Cat. Um, yeah, I'm gonna need to work on the elevations of these. That's an issue. You watch these streams with Cat? Cat, I apologize if you're bored out of your goddamn mind. Uh, okay, so that's scooch that over there. Scoot this over here. I should live stream more games. I mean, I should do like more stuff, period. But I think I'm going to be taking a break. Not like a break, but like dialing back on stuff a little bit between uh, between now and I don't know. Well, at least the end of November, or at least sometime in November when we do the screenshot competition. Because between then and now, I'm pretty sure I'm just going to be doing the podcast. I'm just going to be Dean. I'll get to that. I'm just going to be doing the podcasts. So the Terminus podcast and the Real List, and under construction, and the community playdates. But that's more of a getting together and doing stuff than it is a like thing that I record and stream for the sake of recording. It's also not on this channel. Then again, neither is the Real List. Oh, there are 2 spline points in there. How do I make this look better? Oh well, straightening it would be a good start. And is this straightened? Oh. Nope. Oh, I should probably get rid of this spline point also? Or, no, is that good like that? I mean, it's not happy about it, clearly. I've got the little red circle of doom that says it's not going to work. But I bet I can massage this into something. The only issue is then we're sort of breaking the cardinal rule of you have to have a a straightened section before your switch, which is part of the reason why it wasn't working. But I mean, this isn't necessarily an unusual orientation for a, a switch. I just need to make it look a little better. So I can scoot this way. I can scoot this way. Actually, if I unstraighten this centerpiece, because I think this... Um... Hmm. Okay, I don't want to straighten that. I do want another spline point then, in that case. Oh, am I going to expand the 3 foot... Oh, out of me. Yeah, no, I'll get to that in a second. I did load up the map, by the way. We'll go look at that as soon as I get this settled. Although I would like to scoot this a little bit closer, because now look how far away the foul points are from, like, the end of the track. I mean, it's yard track. It doesn't have to look pretty, but... Oh, come on. Just work with me here. Oh, no, wait. Scoot back to the right. Just a little bit. That's a little bit better. And now I need to do some fancy stuff with spline points to get this to not look just atrocious. So I'll need at least one more over here. It's the issue with doing... Yeah, it's narrow gauge yard track, but it still has to be usable. It doesn't have to be pretty, but it does have to be usable. Oh, come on. Oh, right, it's because I'm missing a spline point here, right? Please? And no, this one's off. I'm just going to end up adding a bunch of extra spline points, specifically to these two tracks, because they're all screwed up. Come on, make me some beautiful parallel curves, goddammit, so I can go look at this map. The thing is, when I did this the first time, it was like bing bang boom. It was like, I did it, and it was done. And I did not spend any time fiddling with it. I did not spend any time, like, going back and forth on it. I was done almost immediately. I was done the first time I tried to lay the curve. And that's why I'm so frustrated right now. Because I know I could have done this the first try. Because I did do it the first try. And now I'm spending all this time adjusting yard tracks to make them parallel. And I'm about to delete this entire yard and start over. I guess it would be concentric, not parallel. If we're getting pedantic. I mean, nobody did, but I'm just getting out ahead of it. How far can I scoot this back? Come on. And I want to put down... Or I want to make sure that all this stuff is at the same height. Which it clearly is not even remotely close to being at the same height. I probably need another spline point like here. What's wrong with this? Why is this not working? Okay, that one's good. This one is not, because because this is not flat. Alright, now everything's happy at least. Except for me. Oh man. Okay. I'll just smooth all that out like so. I will grab the outer track here, which is 10.07. These yard tracks are anything but flat. Which I suppose is fine. Once again, we're talking narrow gauge. But just, oh man. Alright, what is the, it's 10.07. Or 11.07. So make all these 11.07. All of these 11.07. Yeah, the outside yard track being substantially higher than the inside yard track is probably not great. And now, I'm going to, for my final trick, for my next trick, I'm going to find the thing that I used for this. Was it the tan ballast? I think it might have been the tan ballast. Yes, I was actually just thinking about that, Mew. I was about to bring that up. I mean, I didn't want to, like, be like, hey, so have you posted those pictures yet? But I was hoping that you would bring it up, I suppose I should say. I get the search filter out of here. What I want to do is bulk acid update replace. So I want you to be the update with, and I want you to be the starter. There we go. That's better. Lafayette's got a squeaky. A squeaky that does not squeak anymore, notably. We don't have a caboose track in here, which is something of an oversight on my part. Not really sure where to put it, but... Are caboose tracks always an oversight? I was actually going to turn this into a caboose track instead of what it is right now, because we have these 4 stub ends here. But this is for shuffling in multiple cuts of coal cars. I could always put in a second track here for doing that and make this the caboose track and put like a little yard office in the middle. So I guess I'll do that, because that's neat. Let's move these out to here. Oh man, I feel that. Sorry that work's been beating the crap out of you. I don't know what's going on in the other room, but I just heard Gloria say that someone had been shot at multiple times. I'm hoping it's no one we know. Yikes, I don't know what the hell. Actually, here's what I'll do. This will be fun and kind of awkward. So we put this here, right? Straighten this out. We have this single track here. Probably want one more spline point. And I want to stretch this out a little bit more because it's kind of bad right now. Probably want to stretch this out a little more. Not like they're going to be going over these at high rates of speed, but this will be your... This will be your, like, coal car storage, and then we'll have a yard office, which, if I can find a good one, show as a search filter. Yard. There's a bunch of them. I want like a real bootleg yard office. Uh, Videos are fine too in Photodump. Building yard office. No. Actually, I suppose I can use this, but this is not what I wanted. I kind of wanted just a, okay, we'll use this. Although now there's not enough room on this side of it to actually use it, so, we'll just use this then. If it had a door on either side, that'd make it even better. Yes, my love. Could use a little bit more time, but it's definitely getting there. And now I want the BNSF 50 track. Oh, and I probably want to straighten. Well, actually, no. You know what? We'll leave that with the subtle curve in it. What were we using for end of track? I think it's just yeah, there it is. Oh man, I've used these since the original Geiger Mountains. These 3-foot gauge track ends. Yep. Alright, put this down here. Oops. This is how you set up the Thomas Comes to Dinner scene. Alright, so now we have this yard office, which is directly on top of where a track for the main yard used to be. Which you have to get to in a really awkward way, and then the caboose are right here. That's, you know, you put your papers in, you take your papers out right after you get on or off the bus. And I'm going to save now so that I don't lose this again. Back when the fail train was fail train, exactly. Speaking of fail, town of fail, we need to find the town of fail. So, yeah, there's fail right there. So, Dean, you asked if I was ever going to extend the Geiger Mountains past Mason Valley, and the answer is yes. It is all of this orange here. In fact, this area here is supposed to be more or less representative of the original Geiger Mountains layout, but the towns are not as interconnected. Like Bursington is down in this valley. Well, Bursington is actually, yeah, it's up this valley, I suppose. Fail is here. Wakefield is, well, Wakefield and Fail didn't exist. Blood Gulch was the summit with the coal mine, so this is the original Geiger Mountains Railroad run from Geiger City up into Blood Gulch. And then over here, over to here. And then they went up into Bursington because they could, they were running logs. Bursington had the lumber. Did Bursington have the lumber mill or the pulp mill? Either way, I mean, this is going to be a complicated, convoluted route because these things pass under and over one another. Fail being where it is, being what it is. You know, these are going to be relatively small mills. I mean, Bursington is going to be there because it's on like a waterfall. Fail is up there because I don't remember. Probably just a small town that cuts trees, and then they've got to go. Well, in fairness, you could probably just slide them down the hill. so I don't yet have a justification as to why this track arrangement is the way it is. Um, I might scoot Bursington way back and move Fail over here so that it makes a little bit more sense. But bottom line is the most trains are going to be going from uh, from like Wakefield and Fail down to Geiger's City, get rearranged, and then go up to Bursington. And Bursington is where the mills are at. Um, and then there's probably a pulp mill somewhere else. I know originally it was like you had the lumber mill here and the pulp mill here, and you know your ops would be you'd take logs out of here and you'd bring them over here, and then you'd bring the wood chips over here, and then you'd bring the goods back to here, and that's kind of the way things are going to go. Um, that's kind of the way things are going to go. But yeah, the point is that the 3 foot is going to get a lot bigger. Yes, Halo reference Blood Gulch. Which is something added because originally Blood Gulch, like I said, it was just called Summit. I was just like, oh, I should name a place. I should name a place Blood Gulch. I mean, it's more or less, it's more an RVB reference than a Halo reference, but I suppose in and of itself it is a Halo reference. I'm just moving that text together. But that's where the coal mine's going to be. The lumber mill is going to be in Bursington. The pulp mill is probably going to be either in Geiger City or in one of these other towns like this one. Probably this one. Because we can have some like smaller milling up in Wakefield and Fail that bring wood chips into here, but then we can have like a lot of wood chips that come this way. Um, you'll probably have like a one really long train a day of wood chips that goes from Geiger City around to here, and then brings the goods back to here and here. So that's the, you know what? Let's do that now while we're here. Why not? Because I got a little too overzealous with the way this is supposed to work. So I'm gonna grab this, and I'm gonna do this. Size 2, straight lines. We'll actually go through and get rid of the old one first. Go into legend, slide, fail on over. Excuse me. The other thing we could do for fun is instead of having... Bursington is going to be the end of the line because that's just where the mills are at. Or where the mill is at, I suppose. Oops. Switch back to railroad. Finish erasing this. We could always do a Wybold / Iron Horseman reference and have Timber Peak somewhere. We can... Oops. Not what I wanted. Oh, shucks. Gosh darn it. This is what happens. I forget to switch layers, and then I break things. We can have it continue up into the hills there and not go to like a named settlement, but just go to like a forestry in the middle of the woods, you know? Hi, Lafayette. Hi. Hi, Pupper. So yes, I do intend to expand upon this, and of course the elephant in the room is that orange line going off to the right. That orange line is the Macon extension, and that runs, you know, from Mason Valley through here past this. This is the interstate that's getting built. And in fact, I think what I'm going to do for the sake of sanity and realism is probably get rid of this. I mean, yes, a staple of the Geiger Mountains was it passing over itself a lot, but I don't necessarily think that we should hang on to that. Instead, I'll just continue this, and I might change my mind later, but the idea is that this right of way was built for the original VMR routing, and then it was repurposed into a highway. And I'm already doing this narrow gauge next to an interstate trope somewhere else. So, you know, in order to get from here to here, you've got to go all the way around and a reverse moving Geiger City, because that's the way it works. That's not what I wanted to look at. So, the Macon extension is their connection to the Zion skyline. It's their connection to Everett Lake and the barges. It is the longest continuous stretch on the railroad. It's also the only place that high desert is going to be featured. I don't have all the mountains drawn in, so sort of ignore the fact that this is empty because it's all going to be mountains as well. And I have to realign this section through here. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought again. But I redid the bottom side of the peninsula. For those who don't remember, this was a fairly plain, like, straightish line. But now it has all these broken islands, which sort of looks like mid-coast Maine. Now, what else is in mid-coast Maine, or a little bit south of? 2 foot, of course. This is the moment you've all been waiting for. You always try to put in one of those curly Q style Tatchby loop style bits going over yourself. I probably will have multiple of those. I do want that. In fact, that's probably going to be on this run here, because this is to get way up high, because Bursington and Fale have a distinct elevation difference. But this brown line here, so as I redid this, I didn't actually relocate the railroads. I just sort of built around them. You'll notice that the Gilson Eastern is doing island hopping down here. This is actually one of the last main lines built on Tolbrand is this line here. For a long time, you could not take a train from Wambeck to Tidebow without changing in Uniontown. Just because of the different railroads' priorities. Which is kind of interesting considering the first railroad ever built on Tolbrand was probably this stretch. This stretch or this stretch. Because this was a major milling, major industrial town. It was growing rapidly, and suddenly, wow, we've got this new thing called the train. What do we do with it? Well, I don't know. Maybe we could take rich people to their homes on Setter Island, to their vacations on Setter Island. Let's do that. And so they build from Zion here across this little narrow strait onto Setter Island, which is this large island here. They built it standard gauge, but then it got picked up from there, and this 2-foot gauge line was built, which is the Setter Island Railway. And it ran from this place, which has no name yet, through Setter Springs, which is the middle of the island, to this, which has no name yet. So you have 2 little ports. The point was not to carry to carry freight here. It was just to carry passengers deeper onto the island from the existing railroad connection here. So this got built, and then this section got built later, and then a while later, this got built, which I will redesign this to show that, because you're going to have this, which is like going to be a single line meandering through sort of hilly plains, and then this crossing over it, just 4 tracks right on top. There's a prototype for that Bender was showing me. So, and that was with the Milwaukee Road. But this was the first 2 foot gauge railroad. It was the first narrow gauge railroad on the Tolbrin Peninsula. Actually, it may not have been the first narrow gauge, but it would have been the first 2 foot gauge. The Cedar Springs Railway. And then when the Columbia reserves were discovered, which Columbia is up here, they were discovered by the Everett Lake Mining and Navigation Company, which is this green dotted line that goes all the way out, way off the map to the city of Akron. Um, that they their job was to get to Macon. They said, "Nah, that's boring. We're going to go to the giant coal deposit in Columbia," and so they went to Columbia. Um, they built across here this way. This is a whole saga, but they eventually got up there. Again, rich beyond their wildest dreams when they were actually able to tap that reserve. Meanwhile, a man who is yet to be named, I haven't written any of the lore for this yet, realized, oh my god, we need to get up there. We need to get the coal down on this side of the peninsula because they're going to take it. They're going to go to Akron. Why should we let them run it out to Akron and then back on the other railroad or whatever? Let's just bring it straight down. But this tunnel didn't exist for a long time, and even this connection didn't really exist because the Everett Lake and the Akron Macon, which is the red line or the original red line, did not get along. So things were being shipped like way out and then way back, or they were being shipped by barge. But I don't think this river is passable by barge. Um, I know actually it may be because you have the portage up here, but that might have been, or the portage or whatever you want to call it, but that might have been barges actually coming in here and then doubling back, so that you could get from Akron all the way out to the ocean here. Either way, um, this is a fairly major river. It just might not be hospitable for barges once it gets into this portion. Um, we shall see. Either way, um, there's the town of Emden here, which didn't have a rail connection, but it is slash could be was possibly a port. And the guy said, we're gonna build a 2 foot gauge railroad because I've seen how well that works out on Cedar Springs. We're gonna build a 2 foot gauge railroad because they're super cheap. We'll build it really fast before anyone else does it. We're gonna build it from Emden to Columbia, or at least to the other side of the mountain where we can dig in and make our own coal mine. They don't make it to Columbia, obviously. They don't even plan as far as Columbia. They get up to Albion here, and this is basically just cliffs. This is impassable terrain. The difference in elevation is probably hundreds of feet at a minimum. You can't just go up. So they try figuring a way around that. Meanwhile, Emden doesn't turn out to be a great port because this is actually fairly shallow and marshy. You can't get big boats in there. So, okay, well, maybe we aren't going to do the Emden and Columbia, which was the original name of the railroad. We'll build down here and we'll have a better port, and then we'll do that. That also didn't pan out because they never made it to Columbia. They never even attached to the Zion or the VMR up here. They just couldn't get up that mountain. There was no way. So they ran out of money, as you do. At that time, they reorganized. They merged with the Cedar Springs Railway, which, as you can see in the present day, is almost completely abandoned. And they built this little connection here. Or, sorry, this was actually something that was done earlier. They made it down here. This isn't a good port either because it's not, safe at all. It's not suitable for large ships because of... It's just completely unprotected. So they went here. They made an agreement with the Cedar Springs Railway where they could share trackage into this town, they got in here, and the Gilson Eastern, or the predecessor thereof, said absolutely not. Like, you're not using this port for freight. I'm sorry. They weren't sorry, but that's what they told them. You weren't using this port for freight. So they didn't. So now they had a port that sucked, another port that sucked, a port they couldn't use, and a railroad to nowhere. So what do you do then? Well, that's when you merge with the Cedar Springs Railway, and you reorganize. You reorganize as the Emden, Tombstone, and Gulf, which this is Gulf. Um, Cedar Gulf, or so. Or the Tolbrand Gulf being this large body of water down here. And the ET&G went, okay, listen, the Gilson Eastern is not playing ball. Zion and Skyline, how about you guys, how about we meet up, because we already go under your right-of-way here. This is a thing. Imagine Starrock Viaduct. We already go under you. Why don't we just like build a little freight depot? You know, you'll build a spur. We'll build a spur. We'll make like a little, thing. And the Zion and Skyline said, like, why? What do we need you for? You don't go anywhere. You go up here and then to 3 ports that suck. What do we need you for? We have a port, which this is something that I'm gonna have to work on. I don't have a town down there, but we have port here. We have port here, which is unconstrained by the Gilson Eastern. Although at this time I'm not sure that would have existed. We've got the coal mine. We've got the direct connection in. Like, what would we possibly need you for? And the little 2-footer like gives the puppy dog eyes, and they say, okay, fine, we'll meet us in Tombstone and we'll build you a thing there. I haven't drawn the mountains in yet, but this section here is the steepest part of their entire railroad. This brown line here. So the 2-foot diligently tries to get from Emden to Tombstone. It gets this far, gives up, gets here to this town, which doesn't have a name yet, and it's like, oh, this town doesn't have good port facilities either. What if we go like a little south and we try to build our own? So they do that because they can't figure out how to finish this connection. You'll notice that the interstate goes right along here because in the present day you just have 2-foot next to like an 8-lane interstate or 4-lane interstate because they can go right up and over these hills. Like, they're no problem for them, but for the 2-foot they're unimaginable. They go down here, they try to build a thing, it's no dice. Like, they never get to Tombstone, this is worthless. Eventually the Cedar Springs line gets abandoned, or, the original Cedar Railway. So you have, this useless port, because it's gated, literally, and it's not very good. In terms of water depth, you have this useless port because of water depth, this useless port because you're just locked out, this useless port because the weather is too bad. And you have a railway to tiny towns in the middle of nowhere with nothing to show for it. Like, there's no resources out there. Maybe a little bit of coal, maybe a little bit of something else. It depends what I can get in 2-foot cars that, will actually work. But they get a lucky break, which is this city here, this town here, decides to do like massive dredging to get large ships in. And they negotiate with the railroad here and everything. And it's like, oh, finally they're going to have a port. Like, they're going to be able to ship goods from the water inland. Right now they're just making like pennies, bringing tourists or, rich people between cities or, little towns they don't care about. From here to here is still a thing, I guess. No, they did all that port work because of the interstate highway. So they don't give a damn about the 2-foot either. So it's just sort of here, like it's clinging to life by the tiniest thread. Hey guy, the barge bridge like Addison. No, like Addison. Interstate's the parallel to CNS. Yeah, exactly. No, the barge bridge over here is literally this is called Larrabee for a reason, and this is called Addison Springs for a reason. This is the Volga Mountains Railroad's Addison branch, and it has the barge bridge because there's one on the download station. I've had an obsession with that ever since I learned about it. But yeah, so there's our 2-foot thing. There's the deal I made with Hemlock to get 2-foot in. Am I imagining 2-foot geese that sustain, yeah, male contracts to keep this railroad alive? Yeah, that's probably accurate. Like, I thought this railroad maybe has 5 functioning engines. You've got 2 engines that do the run from here, because some deals were eventually made. The run from here through Emden and up to Albion and back. You get one of those each direction every day. You get one train that does the Emden to here run and back every day. So one locomotive. So that's 3 in total. You've got one that's doing this run. Or maybe like a 1, 2, 3 sort of thing. Um, but maybe that's just a motor car. And then you have maybe an engine in reserve. Otherwise, it's just this. This is going to be the least traffic to most railroad length that we have. I mean, even the Mansfield Branch Railroad is going to be a fairly busy place because that's a lot of grain. Like this is this high area is like the breadbasket of Tolbrand. So as if the area before Pan Am wasn't enough for you. Whereas, yeah, there's going to be some things down here. Let me rejigger this right now while we're here. So I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to do this. Get rid of this. The Gilson Eastern goes south of Wambeck, but that's unimportant. Oh, whoops. Let's set that to the appropriate thing. And I just want you to just weave on in here. Okay, and then honestly, more or less, the Gilson Eastern is going to look the same. You have a line that comes out of Wambeck and just goes, pretty much straight north. Maybe turning a little bit. Actually, you know what I want to do? I maybe want to have these looking like sort of the bridges over the Potomac, just like you can see each other, you can glare each other down, and then the Gilson Eastern just sort of takes off. It takes off into the desert or into the plains, just going in like dead straight lines ish. And then it makes a turn up here. Let me cross like so. There we go. And then we have this dead straight shot out over the cove, which is sort of like a la Hudson River situations, Hudson River isms. So we run a nudie mag down there, we run to Tamaros up there, and then Anaconda over there. And actually, I was going to have the peninsula sort of curve around, but honestly, it doesn't matter to me right now. Excuse me. Yeah, the racetrack are, yeah, they're roads. The the darkness of them sort of indicates how major they are. Like this dark gray is a major interstate, and then you have like the lighter grays, which indicate like a major road but not an interstate. Spec road. And as you'll probably notice, I have not finished out most of them. Like the road network is woefully small, but you get a handful of major roads. You get this one, you get this one, and you get the 3 interstates, which is this one, and then the one that goes up to Jefferson. One of the things I've wanted to do is... Oh, those are in the wrong layer. One of the things I've wanted to do is have, like, resource zones also as a layer, but that's a problem for a different time. I mean, we're never going to make it down here anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Alright, and for my final 30 minutes, I guess I'll just dick around and try to find some... The VMR has a lot of unintentional O and W in it. Actually, yeah, you're probably right. I do have a certain affinity for the O and W, but I definitely wouldn't put them in anything on purpose. So you're probably right about that. It is unintentional O and W. Alright, does anyone have any suggestions for, like, 3-foot gauge cars that have commodities on them? Because that's the thing that I need right now. I'm gonna need to... I'll probably download some stuff. But I downloaded a bunch of stuff, and I just don't know where it is or what it's called. Bogey Log Wagon. If you have 3-foot cars available... Yeah, no, there are a lot of available ones. I need ones that have commodities. That's the biggest problem. Catalina PBY Flying Boat. Okay. CB&Q Woodside Caboose. Central Pacific Locomotive. That's not helpful.
Are you hungry?
I'm a little bit hungry.
Good, because you guys
Oh, good. Did it come out good with the spinach?
Yes, and it's not as soupy this time.
Well, that's good on its own.
I
Okay.
think it's because there's so much in it now. Like I put 2 whole bags of cheese. More
Is it super cheesy?
grated parm with spinach. I did like 3 heaping handfuls of spinach.
Okay.
And then I did the cheese first. I did the spinach first, then the cheese, and then the pasta. We'll see if it's good.
I'm sure I will. These are fine. Obviously 1009 is fine. That's Weibold's first love. Don't ask. But like the CNS, like obviously I'm not worried about passenger cars having commodities. Yes, my love. Yeah, I know. Sure. Train Boy 1 stuff I didn't see having commodities. Hold on. Installed, author, Train Boy 1. Oh, I don't think I downloaded a lot of his 3-foot stuff, actually. Let me switch this from installed to on download station. 30-foot boxcar. No, those are not. 30-foot boxcar, 42-foot, 45-pound. 24-foot flat car. I have to download 27 things for this flat car? Oh, probably because it has commodities. Although I'm not sure if it's standard gauge or not. I'm not sure if it's 3-foot gauge. Oh, thank you.
Enjoy.
Thank you, my love. I will. Alright, I'm going to download this. I don't really want to go sifting through stuff while we do this, because it could just break things. DRGW boxcar. Oh, this is a 3-foot gauge thing. I didn't even notice this before. Oh, it has no commodities. NCNG. Okay, I'll look for that. Oh, it's a Baldwin 1012. Hold on. Hmm. Really only going to try to download one thing at a time. Uh-oh. And we're not responding. Oh, never mind, we're back. Baldwin AS16. Iron Tender Truck. Oh, these are specs. Where are the actual like locomotives and cars? Let's do category rolling stock. Rolling stock. I'm not worried about locomotives right now. Also, is this thing done? Or is it still downloading? Task complete. Alright, what is the thing I just downloaded? Oh, B something. Flat car mineral. Okay, this has some stuff. Ooh, that's good. That's a lot of stuff. We'll have to toy with that. I should download the other... Uh... Oh, that's the color. Oh, I see the skeleton. Ooh, what is this? Coal hopper unlettered. Carson and Colorado stuff. Um, CNS. See a nice boxcar. You know what? I'll share my screen for this, so you guys can see when stuff starts to break. I don't really need all the coaches. Toll hoppers, Lincoln pin, all of them. Honestly, I'm not worried about it. If this stuff ever gets upgraded or reskinned, oh come on, don't be stuck. Honestly, it doesn't bug me if it has one or the other. Did it just cancel all my downloads? No, I downloaded them. Um, let's see, where is it? C and S. I guess that's counted at the end. So it'd be at the end of this list. CNS. Boxcar. Okay, that has some stuff in it. Nothing really crazy, but some stuff. Tiffany Reefer, which I think I already had. That's just got the oranges. What was the thing I downloaded? The B... Where'd it go? I swear I saw it. It was called B something. Oh, there it is. B and B. B and B 24-foot flat car red. And it was the coal hopper. Oh, it was the B and S. that I also wanted to look at. It's a cute little thing. Wow, it's got all the different kinds of coal in it. That's cool. Um, B&B skeleton, which that's nice. I would use that for some internal log runs. Um, and then a log car, which can also carry water, weirdly enough. Alright, what else? What else can we find in here? Cinder car. I wonder if this is a commodity on it. Reefer, what else is needed? A tank car would be nice. Really, I'm just always looking for stuff that has different commodities. And it may not when you have... when they're all built by the same person, but that's why I was really sifting through stuff. Um, um, boxcar, way car, Eagle River boxcar. Well, that sounds cool. I'll have to check on that. Try this. I don't know if this is standard gauge or not. LTR and T. LTR and T. Alright. This looks really cute. It is the right gauge, too. What can I put in it? Oh, awesome! No diesel, but... that's cool. We can make use of that. The thing I also need is something that carries wood chips. Which, I think I put one of those down earlier and then didn't save it. Flat car. That's interesting. Who's way cars? Coaches. Um. Oh, class 10 gondola. Let's try this. Let's see if I can put wood chips in these. I just want this to be a little less samey. Hmm. It's amazing. It's really nice stuff that Train Boy has made, that's for sure. Uh-oh, it's doing a countdown again. That means we probably lost connection to the DLS. I wonder if I can find that other gun I was looking at. Because... Mopac, that's not a bad idea. Oh, might have crashed it for good. Yep, definitely crashed it. Oh well, I have all this stuff, so I'm gonna take a screenshot. Oh, all because I was impatient. Well, I mean, this thing's stuck. It was gonna be counting down until... It was gonna be counting down for a long time. At least we didn't lose anything important. We do know that we have things, and it's all Train Boys stuff that has plenty of commodities. There are some others that I'd like to find, but we're barking up the right tree. It's a bit plastic looking. Yeah, it's a shame. Oh man. All right. Well, I'm gonna have to explode the game. So thanks for thanks for watching. We'll do more like actual work next time. Actually, next time, what I think I might do is start the AI like a couple hours ahead of time, so it'll get to the interesting part by the time we're recording. That might be smart. Oh, and one more thing. If it's still live, one more thing. Buy trading cards.